Hi everybody, Allie here for Sweet November Stamps. Today we're going to be making a slider card and we're also going to be doing a little bit of Copic coloring. So let's get to that. But before we start, I just wanted to remind you that today is the Wonderful Winter YouTube Hop and we also have a giveaway. So to participate for your chance to win the entire release, all you have to do is leave a comment below. Okay, we're going to be using our downhill dashers. We're going to be using that cutie patootie. And this stamp set is adorable. Alright, let's get to stamping our little fellow first. I'm just going to use some Memento Tuxedo Black ink on some Catherine Pooler premium cardstock. And we're going to ink him up and stamp him out. We're eventually going to fussy cut him out. So I'm just putting them anywhere on that cardstock. Alright, let's get started on our coloring. We're going to start with a C3. We're going to add the darkest aspects to his body. We're going to make him a gray puppy with black spots. So in order to make things look white, you have to add contrast. And in this case, we're actually adding a fairly bit of dark contrast with this C3. So I'm going into any of the areas that I think are going to be shaded or have shadow. So there we go. We're going to go in and blend out those harsh lines now with a C1. So again, we're still maintaining that white color, but by adding in the shading, it just shows off how white this puppy is, and it's going to look even whiter when we add the little saucer details and his scarf details as well. So we're just blending out all of those lines very easily right over top. Perfect. Don't forget underneath that scarf, and don't forget that cute little belly. Perfect. Now we're going to go in and add those black details on our puppy. We're going to give him an eye patch and a black ear, and then we're going to give him some polka dotties. We're going to give some on his legs as well, and then we're going to do the tip of his tail. Very, very simple coloring. Let's add some pink to the ears, R43, and to his schnozola. Perfect. We're going to go in and put a little bit of blush on his cheekies. And to soften that up, we're going to use our colorless blender. Okay, let's make this saucer spectacularly purple. We're going to start with a V04 first. And I'm starting with the darkest parts of today's little saucer. And we're going to blend with the lightest at the edges there with a V01. Now I'm realizing I don't have enough contrast. So I want to make those shadows look a lot deeper. So I'm going to bring in a V06. And this is definitely going to darken up those shadows a lot, especially down inside our little sled there. So I'm going to come back in with our now medium tone once putting down all our shadows. So our medium tone is our V04, and I'm going to blend out that line so it's not so harsh. There we go. I'm trying to leave a light on the edges there of his saucer. And one quick blend of V01 just to make sure that those purples are good to go. And now he's got a violet sled. Let's work on his cute little scarf. We're going to start with BG13. And I'm going to start by basically putting in anything that's in shadow. So we're going to add some folds and things to the back of the scarf there. We're going to add some color into the crevices. And then we're going to blend it out with a lighter BG, a BG11 or a BG11. And I'm just going over those darker BG and just softening everything out. And I'm leaving some white, so it's very, very light scarf as well. I wasn't quite happy enough with Mr. Puppy's shadows. So we're going in with a C4. And I'm going into all those little nooks and crannies that I think need a little bit more of a shadow in it. So his belly, underneath his chin. And then I'm going to come back with the C3, which was our original dark marker, and blend out that C4 a little bit. And we're going to even soften those lines a little bit more, again, with that lightest C1. There's a little puppy. He needed a little bit more definition, a little bit more contrast to make his white look white. There we go. He's so cute. Now, instead of using Copics for this, I am going to be using some Polychromos pencils. I wanted a little bit of knitted detail or design detail on a scarf, so I figured it's a fairly small image. I'm going to use something that I can really put down detail for, so I pulled out those colored pencils. And I'm just mocking in some large snowflakes. And you can always go in, if you start light, you can always go in and darken things. So even with colored pencils, if you go in light, then you are good to go. There we go. Just adding a few little dots in between the snowflakes. And just accentuating the pieces of our snowflakes again, just to make sure that they're dark enough. It's much easier to see in person. Now our card is going to actually have some pink snow. So that little cloud of snow behind his sled there, we're going to make pink. We're going to soften it up with a little bit of blender solution. And there he is. He's all fuzzy cut and ready for the card. All right. We need to kind of make a snow hill. So I'm just taking a pencil on a piece of paper and I'm making an arched hill. We're going to quickly just cut that out. You can absolutely use a curved die. Whatever you have in your stash. I'm just going full-blown pencil and scissors. We're going to use the Horizon Lines Winter Wonderland. We're going to use a couple of the trees on this. And I'm going to take my curvature or my hill so I know where it's going to sit on the card. And I'm going to position our two clusters of trees. We're going to bring in the small triple cluster from the same stamp set. And we're going to put it a little bit to the left. So I'm just using the hill for positioning purposes. We're going to put that in our stamp positioner. And I'm going to do something a little different. I'm not actually going to use a black ink to put our images on the back of our paper. We're going to use some Do-Si-Do. I'm going to use that little strip of pattern paper on my card. So I wanted to pull the same color in. So I'm going to actually do pink trees. Yep. Pink trees. So I'm just using Catherine Pooler's Do-Si-Do ink and inking them up. I also created masks, which I fussy cut out, and apparently I can't apply them very well, and you'll see why in a moment here. So apply both my masks, and I wish I had fussy cut all along the bottom as well, but I wasn't thinking. All right, we're going to use the same Do-Si-Do ink, and we're going to darken up that sky. And we're going to kind of enrich the color around the trees just to make them pop just a little bit more, and a little bit more ink down towards the horizon line as well. So remember, that's going to be covered with this particular this hill. So we softened the white of that too. We're going to peel off those masks. And if you look really closely, especially on the double set of trees on the right hand side, there's some gaps where my mask was a little bit larger than my image. So I'm going in with the R21. It was the closest marker I could find. And we're kind of getting rid of those white gaps because it looks kind of funny. Now, it's not a perfect color match, but it's a lot closer than just having those funky white things. All right, we're using the same R21 and we're just adding a little bit of that shadow value back into the trees. So I'm literally just doing it on the snow. I'm not touching anything else. We're just putting some dips into the snow that's on the trees and we're keeping everything pink, pink, pink. There we go. All right, let's add this pink striped pattern piece of paper down to the bottom. There we go. 1, 2, 3. And it's going to peek out from underneath our hill. All right, there's our puppy. We kind of know where he's going. And I figured the hill doesn't actually cover underneath this one tree. So I just colored it out. Just done. There we go. We're going to use some My Favorite Things dies here. And these are made for slider cards. And this one just happens to be the same curvature as my hill. So I die cut that out. And I did go back and die cut 2 of these pieces. And I'm going to show you how we use those in a second. Before I put the layering aspect of my card, I wanted to put in a sentiment. And this sentiment is also included in the Downhill Dashers. It says, "Don't flurry, be happy." So I used Memento Black Tuxedo ink again because we are going to color this in because it does have those voids. But let's put our puppy on his hill. We're going to use some 3-dimensional foam squares. Now these foam squares fit perfectly in that gap. So they are perfectly sized to do this. I'm just going to kind of temporarily stick Mr. Puppy to the hill here. This is just going to help me position those pieces of foam. Now you could definitely just go with 1 piece of foam. It would still work. But for some reason I wanted 2. Now I did put them fairly far apart when I started, but I went and worked our little puppy and he wasn't working quite right. So I went and I actually repositioned the second one to be a little bit closer to the first. So the puppy actually kind of jives and slides a little bit better now. There we go. If I can get it to rotate and not stick to the paper. There we go. Going to peel off the backers, and those 2 little discs, paper discs, I'm going to stick to the foam. And they hold that puppy to the hill. So when I flip him over, the puppy no longer falls out of that gap. And I'm going to quickly just use my pencil because I just want to make a guideline for myself all around that void because those discs have to move back and forth. So I need to leave a gap which allows them to move. So when I put my foam tape, which I'm doing now, it doesn't impede the movement. So I'm going to add some to the curvature at the top of the hill as well. And sometimes if you need foam tape to bend, you can just put a little bit of slit in it and it will bend around the corner. All right, peeling the backer. We're going to now apply our little hill to the front side of our card. I'm hoping I'm getting it in the right spot here. There we go. Dun, 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 dun. And our puppy does move. And sometimes you kind of have to give him a whirl and swirl a couple of times to make sure he is moving. Okay. So 2 more things left. We're going to add some purple to our sentiment. I like the fact that the lettering on this sentiment is open. It means you can color swatch and match anything on your card. So that's really fun. I just used a couple of V markers, again, the same 2 that I used on our sled. And then I wanted to put a little bit more of that tealy color in from his scarf. So I found this really cute Christmassy sweater paper to put on the bottom there. Now it says "Don't flurry, be happy." So we need to put some flurries on this little boy. So a couple of drops of white acrylic paint, a dab of water, and the good old splat box, right? So you don't have it all over everywhere. And we're giving him some flurries. And I wasn't worried about going over top of the sentiment or the pattern paper or anything like that. It was just a wild and fun snowy day, right? We'll move him so that we put some snow underneath. There we go. And there we go. We have our cute little sledding puppy. And it's really an easy kind of card to make. Thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to check out the next person on the hop. Their information is listed down below. Good luck on the draw. Thanks everybody for watching.